The Grand Chamber of the Galactic Alliance Council hummed with anticipation. Representatives from 100 star nations gathered in tiered rings that rose like an amphitheater toward the distant ceiling. Holographic displays shimmered with real-time translations, statistics, and visual aids that floated above the central speaking platform. Ambassador Mirval of the Zeroni Empire adjusted his ceremonial collar, the complex metallic patterns catching the light as he prepared to address the assembly. The year 3035 of the fixed cycle marked what should have been another routine exploratory mission report. Instead, Mirval found himself at the center of what might become the most significant discovery in a millennium. "Esteemed representatives," he began, his voice amplified throughout the chamber. "For thousands of years, our galactic community has maintained a delicate balance of power. The great empires, Zeroni, Katanaki, Serini, and Umbukudo, have shepherded smaller nations through an unprecedented era of prosperity." Murmurs of agreement rippled through the audience. This was, after all, the accepted narrative of history taught across thousands of worlds. Today, I bring news that may alter the course of our shared future. Mirval paused dramatically, savoring the moment. A Zeroni survey vessel has detected an unregistered ship at the edge of the mid-galactic cluster. Initial scans confirm it belongs to a previously unencountered spacefaring species. The chamber erupted in excited chatter. New species were discovered with some regularity, but rarely ones that had achieved interstellar travel independently. High Commander Rektal of the Katanaki Federation leaned forward. "Ambassador, are you suggesting a first contact scenario?" "Indeed, Commander. Our preliminary observations indicate this species calls itself human, originating from a planet called Earth, in what they term the Solar System. They refer to their political entity as the Terran Union." "How developed is their interstellar capability?" asked Administrator Jivex of the Umbukudo Collective, their translucent appendages rippling with concern. Mirval projected a series of images above the central platform. "According to our scans, they have been venturing beyond their home system for approximately 70 standard years. Their territory currently spans 12 star systems." "Mere infants," scoffed Vardenzel, the Serini Commodore, his exoskeleton clicking with dismissive gestures. "Barely worth our notice. Under normal circumstances, perhaps," Mirval conceded. "However, there is one exceptional factor that demands our attention." He magnified an image of Earth. "Their homeworld classification. It's a death world." The chamber fell silent. Death worlds were rare, hostile environments that produce species with extraordinary genetic adaptations. Such species often possess capabilities that could be weaponized or exploited for various purposes. "Genetic treasures," whispered senior biologist Kivlara of the Nix Consortium. "Their adaptations could be valuable." Mirval nodded. "Precisely why I've brought this to the full Council's attention. We face a decision. Do we extend an invitation to join our galactic community, or—" He left the alternative unspoken. The chamber divided into factions almost immediately. The militaristic Katanaki and resource-hungry Serini argued for immediate subjugation. The scientifically inclined Umbukudo and commercial Nix Consortium favored cautious study. Smaller nations aligned themselves with their traditional allies. Mirval watched the debate with calculating eyes. This was the opportunity he had awaited throughout his diplomatic career, a chance to elevate the Zeroni Empire's standing among the galactic powers. If he could claim credit for discovering and successfully integrating, or conquering, a valuable new species, his name would be immortalized in imperial records. "Honorable representatives," he interrupted the growing debate. "I propose a middle path. Let us authorize initial contact, assess their technological capabilities and cultural disposition, then determine the appropriate course of action." The Council deliberated for 3 standard days before reaching consensus. The Zeroni Empire would lead a diplomatic mission to the humans' territory, ostensibly to welcome them to the galactic community. Meanwhile, intelligence assets from all major powers would covertly gather information about this new species and their capabilities. As the Council dispersed, Mirval returned to his private chambers aboard the Zeroni diplomatic vessel. He gazed at the holographic projection of Earth, spinning slowly above his desk. "What treasures do you hold, little Deathworlders?" he murmured. "And how might they serve the greater glory of Zeroni?" The first diplomatic exchange with the Terran Union proceeded with surprising ease. Human representatives welcomed the Zeroni delegation aboard their frontier station with minimal security protocols, a naivety that Mirval found both charming and advantageous. "We are honored by your visit, Ambassador," said Captain Eliza Chen, the human diplomatic officer. "Humanity has long speculated about intelligent life beyond our borders. To finally make contact is the fulfillment of generations of scientific pursuit." Mirval bowed in the manner his cultural attaches had advised was appropriate. "The Galactic Alliance extends greetings to your people, Captain Chen. We look forward to sharing knowledge and resources for mutual benefit." What followed was an unprecedented display of openness. The humans freely shared astronomical data, technological specifications, and even biological information about themselves. They answered questions about their military capabilities with candid transparency that bordered on foolishness by galactic standards. "Our fleet currently consists of 217 vessels across 4 classifications," explained Admiral Thomas Reynolds during a technical briefing. "We maintain defensive positions around our 12 colonized systems, with exploration vessels continuing to chart potential expansion routes." Mirval's intelligence officer, Dalvren, could barely contain his excitement during their private debriefing later. "They've handed us everything. Ambassador. Star charts, ship specifications, resource deposits, even genetic samples for medical cooperation. They're either the most trusting species we've encountered or the most foolish." Mirval studied the data with measured skepticism. "Perhaps too foolish. Could this be deliberate misinformation?" Dalvren shook his head. "Our verification protocols detect no signs of deception. The data matches our observational scans. They simply appear to have no concept of information security by our standards." "Interesting." Mirval forwarded selected portions of the intelligence to the Council, while reserving the most valuable pieces for Zeroni Imperial Command. "And their military capacity? Limited. Their largest vessels are approximately 1/3 the size of our standard dreadnoughts. Weapons technology is primarily kinetic and nuclear, with some experimental directed energy systems. Nothing that could threaten a coordinated fleet action." Mirval smiled. "Perfect. Maintain the diplomatic facade. I want to see how the Council reacts to this opportunity." The reaction was precisely what he had anticipated. Within days, the value of the human genetic adaptations became clear. Their resilience to radiation, atmospheric toxins, and gravitational stress far exceeded most known species. Their biochemistry contained novel compounds with potential applications in medicine and biotechnology. A bidding war began in the shadows of the Galactic Alliance. The Katanaki Federation offered exclusive military alliance with the Zeroni in exchange for access to human genetic material. The Sereni Empire proposed territorial concessions. The Umbakudo Collective promised advanced technological blueprints. Mirval leveraged these offers against one another, extracting maximum value while maintaining the facade of honest diplomatic relations with the humans. But, beneath the surface, darker plans were forming. 3 standard months after first contact, a Katanaki battle group entered human territory without authorization. Their mission, conducted without council approval, was to seize a small human colony for comprehensive study. They never returned. The Katanaki High Command reported complete loss of communication with the battle group, 6 warships and over 4,000 personnel simply vanished. Subsequent scans of the targeted human system showed no signs of battle debris or radiation signatures that would indicate weapon discharge. Perhaps they encountered a spatial anomaly, Mirval suggested innocently during the emergency council session that followed. High Commander Rektal glared at him. Our vessels do not simply disappear. Ambassador, something, or someone, destroyed them, and with such efficiency that no distress signal was transmitted. The Serini were next to test the humans. Rather than a direct military approach, they dispatched specialized infiltration ships to a different human colony. These vessels, equipped with the most advanced stealth technology in the galaxy, were designed to abduct human specimens without detection. The result was identical: complete disappearance, no communication, no wreckage, no explanation. Yet, throughout these covert incursions, the Terran Union maintained normal diplomatic relations. They continued to share information, participate in cultural exchanges, and express enthusiasm about joining the galactic community. Not once did they mention the missing alien vessels in their territory. The pattern repeated 4 more times over the following year. Different empires, different tactics, identical results. 6 separate incursions into human space had resulted in the complete disappearance of the intruding forces. Rumors spread throughout the Alliance. Some claimed the humans possessed dimensional technology that could banish objects to alternate realities. Others suggested invisible automated defense systems that activated only against hostile intentions. The most outlandish theories involved psychic abilities that allowed humans to sense and neutralize threats before they materialized. The term Demon Earthers began to circulate among military personnel across the galaxy. Mirval found himself in an increasingly precarious position. He had encouraged these incursions, if not explicitly, then through strategic information sharing and subtle manipulation. If the humans were aware, and their perfect interception record suggested they might be, his diplomatic career could end in disgrace, unless he could turn the situation to his advantage. The evidence is clear, he declared to a private gathering of representatives from the major powers. These humans possess defensive capabilities far beyond what their shared specifications indicate. They have eliminated 6 battle groups without a trace. This represents an unprecedented threat to galactic security. Commodore Vardenzel of the Serini clicked his mandibles anxiously. What do you propose, Ambassador? Open warfare? After what happened to our previous attempts? Not warfare, Mirval replied smoothly. A unified demonstration of power. The humans have picked off individual incursions with disturbing ease, but they have never faced the combined might of the Galactic Alliance. Admiral Zixmore of the Umbukudo Collective rippled his translucent appendages in what passed for a thoughtful gesture among his kind. You suggest we unite our fleets? Such cooperation has not occurred in 7 centuries. Precisely why it will succeed, Mirval insisted. The humans have studied our individual capabilities, but cannot anticipate our combined strategies and technologies. One overwhelming show of force will bring them to proper submission without protracted conflict. The plan took shape over subsequent weeks. The 4 major empires would contribute their most advanced dreadnoughts to a combined armada. This fleet would enter human space openly, not as invaders, but as a ceremonial escort to formally welcome the Terran Union into the Galactic Alliance. The true purpose, of course, was intimidation, to demonstrate such overwhelming military superiority that the humans would have no choice but to accept tributary status rather than risk annihilation. Mirval worked tirelessly to coordinate this unprecedented alliance. If successful, he would be credited with both discovering the humans and orchestrating their peaceful integration into the galactic hierarchy. His name would be elevated above any diplomat in Zeroni history. As preparations neared completion, something unexpected occurred. After a year of silent tolerance, the Terran Union finally acknowledged the incursions into their territory. A transmission was broadcast simultaneously to all major governments in the alliance. It contained only visual data, high-resolution images of debris fields. The wreckage was clearly identifiable as belonging to the missing vessels from all 6 incursions. Most disturbing was the condition of the debris. Each vessel appeared to have been cut with surgical precision, as though sliced by an impossibly sharp blade. No accompanying message explained the images. No threats or demands followed. Just the silent evidence that the missing ships had indeed been destroyed, not displaced or captured. The impact was immediate. Several smaller nations withdrew their support from the joint fleet action. The Umbukudo Collective publicly questioned the wisdom of antagonizing a species with such capabilities. Even the militaristic Katanaki expressed reservations. But Mirval had invested too much to retreat. Using a combination of diplomatic pressure, economic incentives, and thinly veiled threats, he managed to salvage the coalition. The unified fleet would proceed as planned, though somewhat reduced in size. "This changes nothing," he assured the Allied commanders. "The humans are still vastly outnumbered and outgunned. These images are merely psychological warfare, an attempt to dissuade us through fear, rather than actual demonstration of superior force." 3 days later, the combined fleet assembled at the designated coordinates. It was a truly impressive sight. 27 capital ships, including the newest dreadnoughts from each major empire, accompanied by over 100 support vessels. The total firepower assembled could reduce a small moon to asteroid-sized fragments. As planned, Mirval transmitted an invitation to the Terran Union, requesting their representatives attend a ceremonial fleet review to formalize their entry into the Galactic Alliance. The response came almost immediately. The humans would be honored to attend and would send a small diplomatic vessel to the coordinates. The trap was set. Once the human representatives were aboard the Zeroni flagship, they would be presented with the terms of their subordination. The overwhelming display of military power surrounding them would ensure compliance. "This will be remembered as the Mirval Doctrine," the ambassador told his staff as they prepared to receive the human delegation. How to efficiently integrate new species without unnecessary conflict. The appointed time arrived. The combined fleet arranged itself in an impressive 3-dimensional formation. Weapon systems conspicuously active, though not directly targeted at the approaching human vessel. The human ship was small, barely larger than a standard shuttle, with minimal armament visible on its exterior. It approached at a respectful speed, following the course provided by Alliance Navigation Control. Mirval stood in the grand reception hall of the Zeroni flagship, surrounded by representatives from each participating empire. Massive view screens displayed the human vessel as it entered the heart of the formation. "They send a single shuttle to meet the most powerful fleet ever assembled," laughed Commodore Vardenzel, either supremely confident or utterly foolish. As the human vessel reached the designated docking position, something unexpected happened. It stopped, maintaining position just short of the actual docking port. "They appear to be scanning us," reported the tactical officer. "Unusual energy signatures detected." Before Mirval could respond, every view screen in the reception hall changed to display the same image. A human face, female, by their dimorphic standards, with dark eyes that seemed to evaluate each being in the room individually. "Greetings, representatives of the Galactic Alliance," she said. Her voice translated perfectly into each species' native language. "I am Admiral Sophia Reyes of the Terran Union Defense Force. We appreciate your invitation and the impressive display of your military capabilities." Mirval stepped forward. "We welcome you, Admiral. If you would dock your vessel, we have prepared appropriate ceremonies for this historic occasion." The human's expression remained neutral. "Before proceeding, I am authorized to share some information that may be relevant to our future relations." The view screens shifted to display what appeared to be a small, unremarkable object floating in space. It was cylindrical, perhaps 3 meters in length, with no visible propulsion systems or weapons. "This is a Terran Union scout probe," Admiral Reyes explained. "One, identical to this, was deployed to each of your vessels approximately 72 hours ago. They have been mapping your internal layouts and analyzing your technological capabilities." Murmurs of alarm spread through the assembled dignitaries. Such infiltration should have been impossible given the sensor nets and security protocols protecting each vessel. "That's impossible," declared High Commander Rektal. "Our detection systems would have—" "Your detection systems," interrupted Admiral Reyes, "operate primarily on principles of electromagnetic radiation, quantum fluctuation, and dimensional distortion. Our probes utilize none of these. They are, for all practical purposes, undetectable by your current technology." The view screens changed again, now showing detailed schematics of each major vessel in the combined fleet, including internal compartments, weapon systems, and even crew deployment. "What is the meaning of this?" demanded Mirval, struggling to maintain his diplomatic composure. "Is this some form of threat?" "Not a threat, Ambassador. A demonstration. Since our first contact, your various empires have sent 6 unauthorized military expeditions into Terran space. We eliminated each one, then waited to see if diplomatic relations would improve naturally. They did not. Instead, you assembled this fleet." The image changed once more, showing what appeared to be a segment of one of the scout probes. A thin, almost invisible filament extended from its housing. "This is what we call a plasma knife. It can cut through any material known to us with minimal energy expenditure. Each probe currently attached to your vessels is equipped with this technology." A heavy silence fell over the reception hall as the implications became clear. "To demonstrate," continued Admiral Reyes, her voice still eerily calm, "I have authorized a limited activation sequence." Without warning, alarms blared throughout the flagship. Emergency reports flooded in from across the fleet. On the view screens, the assembled dignitaries watched in horror as the upper third of a Katanaki dreadnought, a vessel over 2 kilometers in length, separated cleanly from its main body, as though cut by an invisible blade. Similar reports came from 6 other vessels across the fleet. In each case, a clean, precise cut had severed a non-critical portion of the ship. No explosions, no loss of life, just the surgical removal of hull sections to demonstrate what could have been done to life support or command centers. "We could have destroyed this entire fleet at any time during the past 3 days," Admiral Reyes stated. "We chose not to. Unlike your previous expeditions into our territory, we prefer to avoid unnecessary casualties." Mirval felt the diplomatic opportunity he had so carefully cultivated crumbling around him. But more than his career was at stake now. The combined fleet, the pride of 4 empires, stood revealed as utterly vulnerable. "What do you want?" he asked, abandoning pretense. "Recognition of Terran sovereignty, non-interference in our territory, cessation of all covert operations against our people and colonies. In return, we offer genuine diplomatic relations, mutually beneficial trade, and scientific collaboration in areas of common interest." "And if we refuse?" asked Commodore Vardenzel, mandibles clicking with barely suppressed rage. Admiral Reyes' expression remained unchanged. "There is no need to speculate about hypotheticals. Commodore, the facts before you should make the rational choice clear. We have demonstrated our capabilities without inflicting casualties. Consider this gesture of restraint carefully before contemplating further aggression." The view screens returned to external views of the fleet, where the damaged vessels were already beginning emergency containment procedures. The human ship initiated a slow, deliberate turn away from the flagship. "We will withdraw to a respectful distance while you confer among yourselves," Admiral Reyes concluded. "We await your response." The diplomatic reception dissolved into chaos as military commanders demanded immediate action. Security officers ordered fleet-wide inspections for the undetectable probes, and political representatives argued over responsibility for the debacle. Mirval retreated to his private chambers, his grand aspirations in ruins. How had everything gone so catastrophically wrong? The humans, with their primitive ships and seemingly naive openness, had outmaneuvered the combined strategic might of empires that had dominated the galaxy for millennia. Hours later, after frantic consultations between governments, the inevitable decision was reached. The combined fleet would withdraw. The terms presented by the Terran Union would be accepted, for now. Future strategies would be considered once the immediate crisis had passed. Mirval was tasked with delivering the Alliance's formal response, a final humiliation for the architect of the failed intimidation strategy. Standing alone before the communication array, he transmitted the agreed-upon message. The Galactic Alliance acknowledges the sovereign rights of the Terran Union. We accept your terms for non-interference and look forward to peaceful diplomatic relations. The response was brief. We are pleased by your decision. We desire only to exist peacefully alongside the galactic community. Let us remember that strength can be expressed through restraint as well as force. In the years that followed, the political landscape of the galaxy underwent subtle but significant changes. The dominant empires, humbled by the encounter with humanity, focused more on internal development and less on territorial expansion. Smaller nations found greater autonomy as the traditional power structures recalibrated. The Terran Union kept its word. They claimed no territory beyond their existing 12 systems and established peaceful trade relations with neighboring civilizations. Their technological innovations, particularly in medicine and environmental engineering, proved valuable to many worlds. As for Mirval, his diplomatic career did not end as disastrously as he had feared. While removed from his position as lead ambassador, he was reassigned to a scholarly role within the Zeroni diplomatic archives. This demotion, intended as punishment, became instead an unexpected opportunity. In his new position, Mirval received unprecedented access to historical records spanning thousands of years of galactic civilization. He began to recognize patterns that had escaped notice during his ambitious political career. Cycles of expansion and conflict followed by periods of cultural flourishing and scientific advancement. 5 years after the fleet incident, Mirval requested permission to establish diplomatic contact with the Terran Union on a personal, non-official basis. His request, considered harmless, given his diminished status, was granted with little consideration. The humans welcomed him with surprising warmth. Rather than harboring resentment over his past manipulations, they expressed interest in his historical research and philosophical inquiries. During this visit, Admiral Reyes, now serving as a senior diplomatic advisor, presented him with an unexpected gift: a comprehensive historical archive of human civilization. "You've spent your recent years studying galactic history," she explained. "We thought you might find our history equally informative." The archive contained detailed accounts of humanity's development, their countless wars and conflicts, their environmental catastrophes, their near extinctions, and their remarkable resilience. Most fascinating to Mirval were their artistic and cultural achievements, created despite, or perhaps because of, their constant struggles. "You could have conquered us," Mirval remarked during a private conversation with Admiral Reyes. "Your technology clearly surpassed our defenses. Why choose restraint?" "Because we already tried the alternative," she replied. "Our history is filled with examples of what happens when superior force is used to subjugate others. It never ends well, not for the conquered, and ultimately, not for the conquerors either." "Let humanity live in peace," she continued. "That was our message. Not because we fear conflict, but because we've seen where that path leads. Our most significant achievements came not from conquest, but from cooperation and creativity." Mirval returned to Zeroni space with a transformed perspective. The historical archive became the foundation for his most significant work, a comparative analysis of civilizational development patterns across species. His thesis, radical at the time, proposed that the true measure of an advanced civilization was not its military capacity or territorial reach, but its ability to channel resources toward creative and life-affirming endeavors. Initially dismissed as the idealistic ramblings of a disgraced diplomat, his work gradually gained recognition as smaller nations embraced its principles and prospered. A new artistic renaissance spread across the galaxy, inspired partly by human creative forms shared through cultural exchange programs. The era became known as the HFY Renaissance, referring to an obscure human expression that had leaked into galactic slang. Humanity. Fuck yeah. The phrase, crude by formal diplomatic standards, encapsulated the grudging respect that had replaced the initial dismissive attitude toward the Deathworld species. Myhrvold lived to see his work vindicated. In his final years, he was invited to address the Galactic Alliance Council, the same forum where he had once proudly announced the discovery of humans. This time, his message was different. "We mistook restraint for weakness," he told the assembled representatives. "We interpreted openness as naivety. In doing so, we nearly provoked a conflict that could have decimated civilizations built over thousands of years." He gestured to the human delegation seated among the council members, a position earned through diplomatic patience rather than military intimidation. The greatest power is not the ability to destroy, but the wisdom to refrain when destruction is possible. This is the lesson humanity taught us, not through lectures, but through demonstration. They humiliated our military, might not to establish dominance, but to create space for a different kind of relationship. As he concluded his address, Myhrvold reflected on the irony of his career. He had sought glory through the traditional paths of discovery, manipulation, and conquest. Instead, he found it through defeat, reflection, and the painful recognition of his own cultural limitations. The Terran Union continued to expand, but slowly, and through negotiated settlements, rather than military action. Their technological innovations, particularly the mysterious propulsion and stealth systems that had so thoroughly outwitted the combined fleet, remained largely classified, shared only with their closest allies. The plasma knife technology that had so dramatically demonstrated human capabilities was eventually adapted for peaceful purposes, precision manufacturing, medical applications, and environmental restoration projects on damaged worlds. Rumors persisted about other human technologies kept in reserve, planet-destroying weapons, dimensional manipulation devices, or consciousness transfer systems. The Terran Union neither confirmed nor denied these speculations, maintaining what they called strategic ambiguity about the full extent of their capabilities. This uncertainty, combined with the memory of the fleet incident, ensured that no major power again attempted military action against human territory. The demonstration had been sufficient. One did not provoke the Deathworlders without facing consequences. In time, the galaxy adjusted to the new equilibrium. The major empires maintained their territories but exercised greater caution in their expansionist ambitions. Smaller nations found niches where they could flourish without constant fear of absorption by larger powers. And humanity, the unexpected catalyst for this transformation, continued their peculiar blend of cautious diplomacy and uncompromising defense of their sovereignty. As for Myhrvold, his name did indeed enter the historical records, not as the conqueror of humanity, as he had once envisioned, but as the diplomat who, through failure and redemption, helped forge a more balanced galactic order. In the grand archives of the Zeroni Empire, his final written reflection was preserved. "We warned them to surrender to our superior numbers. They warned us to let humanity live in peace. Only one of these warnings proved prophetic. In heeding it, we found not submission, but a more excellent path forward. Perhaps this is the true power of the Deathworlders, not their weapons, but their vision of what strength truly means.